Hey, everybody, welcome. I'm Doc G, and this is the Wellness Revolution with Dr. Robert Wiedemann and
Thank you very
co-host.
much. Yeah.
Go ahead.
And Marvin Ropp. Yes. And I figured out a temporary fix for for contacting me. You go to https://tinyurl.com/docs minerals. And docs minerals is case sensitive. So you want to make sure that you capitalize docs minerals. And you'll be able to get that website for now until I'm able to finish the website that I have to go to. So, and did you try that out, Doc?
Yeah, I just tried it out, and I'm gonna load it for people so they can see it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to know if you were able to get through to it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it worked then for you.
Yes, it's working. Yeah.
Good. That'll work for now. That's a quick and dirty way to get it so that people can contact us. Okay. And tonight we're going to talk about some issues that involve the function of your body and family issues. Okay. A little bit of psychology.
Family issues.
Here.
Are you telling me we're going to talk about family issues?
Yes. Well,
this will be exciting.
Yeah, prostate issues,
Oh, really?
And of course, I don't have a picture of the prostate gland up here, so I don't know if you can come up with...
we got to keep it clean for the virgin ears.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, the thing that is that Marvin, what are the symptoms of prostate issues?
Well, first of all, is this: if you travel a lot, you men know who you are. And I see this all the time in the airport. These guys, just after they get off the plane, the bladder's full, and they go to the bathroom and they try to pee, and they dribble and dribble and dribble and dribble. Well, guess what? They're grunting and dribbling, and very little stuff comes out. So what's happening is that we have a unhealthy prostate, a prostate that's not performing as it was originally designed. So the question is, what is the purpose of the prostate? That's what we need to find out. What's the purpose of prostate, Dr. Wiedemann?
Well, the purpose of the prostate is to, it has to do with erectile, function, proper function, but it also, there are sacs in there that contain the semen. They're called seminal vesicles. And what it actually does is it produces semen that combines with the sperm so that there can be an ejaculation, and so consequently it's very blood vessel rich, and it basically helps. It basically causes the erection to occur. Okay, and so the thing with it is that it's like any other organ. If you don't use it, you lose it. And one of the things is that there can be deficiencies in there's actually a product that Longevity produces. It's called ProstFX, and it has several herbs in it that if a man takes that on a regular basis, it actually keeps the prostate fairly healthy. But also at the same time, it is, a man needs to have sex on a regular basis. In order to empty that gland, those glands, he needs, and so, what you can have happen in a relationship is that the wife continually tells the man she doesn't want to have sex. Well, if a man has a sex drive, which most men do, I mean, and it also has to do with our hormonal balance of, we have to have a certain amount of cholesterol. Now, Dr. Wallach tells a story about a 90-year-old man who goes into the doctor, and the doctor examines him and sees that all of his blood work is normal, and he lets the doctor know that he eats 24 eggs a day. And the doctor says, well, why do you eat 24 eggs a day? He says, because I want to be more studly. So apparently there's just something about eggs that actually enhance the normal prostate function.
Well,
Yeah.
Dr. Wiedemann, that's something that we've learned back on the farm. Which is in the horse breeding industry, the guys who own the stallions, they will give their stallions a dozen eggs a day.
Really?
And that helps because the yellow part of the egg is pure cholesterol. It
Mhm.
is cholesterol that's readily usable that the body can convert immediately to the hormones it needs. And the same thing works just fine for men. Okay. And so when we have an ED issue, erectile dysfunction issue, it comes down to restricted blood flow. So we have to ask a question, okay, in order to have a healthy intercourse, you're going to have to be able to have and maintain an erection. That's really how simple it is.
Mhm.
But if you have cardiovascular disease. Cardiovascular disease means that you have a restricted blood flow, which means you are eating these inflammatory foods. We're going to talk about these inflammatory foods in a minute. But what ends up happening is this: you have restricted blood flow, and it reduces the man's ability to maintain or hold a healthy erection. That's really how simple it is. And many men start suffering from this problem in their late 30s, early 40s, even. And Viagra and Cialis does not solve the problem. All it does is that it just delays the problem. And once Viagra and Cialis no longer works, guess what? They have nothing to brag about. Nothing.
Mhm.
Nothing to brag about. So this is how simple this problem is to fix. First of all, so we want to clean out the plumbing as per se. This first thing is we want to restore our cardiovascular system, because the same thing that causes ED is the same thing that causes kidney failure, the same thing that causes glaucoma, okay, and the same thing that causes high blood pressure,
Mhm.
and the same thing that causes cardiovascular disease. So what is that? It is the fried foods and cooking oils. These are inflammatory foods which causes inflammation in the circulatory system. Every blood vessel, arteries or capillaries that blood flows through, if it has restricted blood flow, so basically what ends up happening is that you have that small hole where the blood goes through, that is no longer able to carry the blood supply where you need to go.
Yes,
And
and this there's another aspect to this too, and that's nerve interference, because the brainstem actually controls the blood vessels in the body, and it can make a difference in ED as well. Getting having an atlas subluxation correction, it will make a difference. So, so it's, remember, it's always when the vascular is involved, the nerves are involved. And the nerves also require, the cholesterol to function properly. In other words, those nerves, there's a sheath around those nerves that contains cholesterol. It's called the myelin sheath. And if you don't have cholesterol, it's going to cause nerve interference. It's a large cause of neuropathy. And so essentially there can be neuropathy that leads to the prostate issue. And also there's a problem with, just vascular, plugging up the vascular system there.
And so one of the things that a lot of men don't realize is that if they have degenerative disc disease and that lower lumbar, those nerves who control the prostate gland, if there's not enough nerve, if there's too much nerve interference, you will not be able to successfully ejaculate your sperm.
Yeah. Do you have a model of the vertebrae? Those four vertebrae do you have that model handy?
Yeah. Let me keep talking. I'll
okay. Yeah. Because see, essentially, those nerves leading from the spinal cord, and of course in the low back, there's something called the filium terminalis, or the cauda equina is where it's like a horsetail. The nerves come out from the end of the spinal cord. The spinal cord ends at L2. And so the peripheral nerves come out of that spinal cord and continue to go down through the spinal column and then branch out through the intervertebral foramina. So they can be interfered with. and there can actually be, you can actually have ruptured disc can actually go backwards into those nerves and affect the S1, 2, and 3 nerves, which are basically, it's called the pudendal nerve that actually supplies the nerve to the prostate. So that can be interfered with as well. So do you have that model?
I'm still looking for it. Just keep. I'll tell you here in a minute when we have it.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Just a second here.
Just let me know.
While I'm finding that out, what we want to do is, if you're taking notes, if you're not be able to watch this, if you're taking notes, the main thing to understand from this is that the system, the reproductive system. Now we're talking about the reproductive system, not just ED, but reproductive system is part of what we talk about. We talk about if we don't have a healthy reproductive system, one of the negative side effects of that is erectile dysfunction. And so even men who want to have fathered children, if they cannot have a healthy erection, they cannot have a successful deposit of the sperm into the vaginal canal. And that's another problem with, and I see this a lot. I've dealt with a lot of childless couples, and I see both sides, both male and female, with health issues when it comes to the reproductive system here. So when we talk about men ED, we're not just talking about one system. This is a bigger picture than what we actually than just national ED here itself. So let me see. Let's see if it's just the one. No, it's not.
Well, here's let me say this. There is actually kind of a war against sexual function, proper sexual function, in the medical industry. One of the things they like to do is use women for a ATM machine, because they'll instead of solving their problems like PMS and things like that, they will just go give them a hysterectomy. If it doesn't work, cut it out. Well, a hysterectomy is a very serious thing because number one, the uterus is a muscle, and it's a very important muscle. It actually affects your posture. Women who've had a hysterectomy never walk the same. You can tell a woman that's had a hysterectomy just by looking at her. They don't look the same in terms of the way their posture is, because that uterus is gone. The uterus is actually a support. It's very much tied into the pelvis, the way the pelvis functions. And, there can be pain on intercourse, with the problems with the prostate. And a woman needs to find a natural way to solve that problem. And they can. Chiropractic care first, because that will balance the pelvis. Believe me, correcting the relationship of the head to the atlas to the lower cervical spine affects very directly the function of the brainstem. Now, I have dissected many of them. I've gone in and just dissected and seen where the spinal cord comes through the spinal column, and just a tiny, tiny little motion of that atlas will affect the brainstem. And all it takes is a fingernail width of laterality of misalignment of that atlas to cause a problem. And so again, it affects circulation, but see, it affects the pelvis. That actually, the hips will actually twist like that, and will draw a leg short. You can lay a person down and their leg will be like anywhere from 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch, or even 2 inches short. And I've always believed that the shorter a person's leg is, when it's contracted like that, the closer to death they are, because there's such an influence on the brainstem.
So, Dr. Wiedemann, I got the ability to do a screen share here, and I'll show you what we're talking about, which is a really good example of nerve interference from the brainstem all the way down through the lower lumbars, and how it affects our reproductive system here. So let's go into this right here. This right here, as you can see here, It's part of the safety pin cycle. The brain here communicates to every organ and cell in the body. If you look down and lower down here, there's the testes, all that, and all the areas in here. And also, you've got so this here is a part of the man's reproductive system. Male,
Yes.
both. And that is so. If you have issues here, if you've been in an auto accident or have any issues with a lower lumbars, this is where the problem comes from.
Yeah.
And so what we have here is a couple things for the ladies. A lot of times the ladies, and we'll kind of take a little rabbit trail here. A lot of ladies are diagnosed with urinary tract infection because they have neuropathy of the uterus. That's because right in here, there's a squeezing of the nerve that controls the urinary tract, and it's burning. It feels like it's infected. So the doctors misdiagnose it because of the symptoms that they receive from the ladies, and the ladies actually are taking these antibiotics. They shouldn't be taking antibiotics. They should be actually taking a musculoskeletal restoration program along with the basic 90 nutrients.
And getting corrected chiropractically as well.
Exactly. And so
now, I want you to put your cursor, you remember you showed the pelvis, put it on the main nerve there, a little to the left there, a little farther to the left, right there. Oop, nope, too far. Back a little to the right, right there. That's the pudendal nerve right there.
And so it controls a handful of organs there. And so when a man is, and so we have all these things tied together here. If you can visualize this, how important that the brain is able to communicate with his organs. And if it's not able to do that, we've got problems.
Well, here's something else, Marvin. Here's the importance of sex. There is a cerebral spinal fluid pump. When you breathe, your head will tend to nod like this, and your pelvis will function in the opposite direction. It's like this. Okay. And that's a cerebral spinal fluid pump. And when you're having sex, that pump is very much activated and causes that cerebral spinal fluid to flow. And it's important to do that because it takes toxins and poisons out of the nerve roots, and eliminates them from the body. So that's and this it's amazing the way God created the human body. And when man and woman come together, they are literally joining together. And it's a holy thing when it's in marriage. And God intended this to enhance your life and listen, I'll tell you something. I had listened to a lady talking on a Christian radio station, and she became under conviction. Now, she was reading the Bible, and where the Apostle Paul says not to withhold yourself from your partner. You don't belong to yourself anymore. When you get married, you're not your own. You belong to your spouse. And so she took that as that she needed to do her wifely duty and make sure that her husband was sexually satisfied. That man increased his self-esteem. He rose to the top of his company and just, and that's how important it is to a man, and that's, that's kind of what submissiveness is, on the part of a woman.
Doc, can I say something real quick too?
Yeah.
It's part of that too, but it's also, and I don't know why it happens, but women use the sexual thing as a weapon. I've said that for years. I don't know why you would do that to your husband.
Yeah, they're not. The Bible says not to do that. They're not that's called defrauding. A woman is not supposed to be in charge of the husband. It's the other way around. And I'll tell you where feminism started in the Garden of Eden, where Eve took out on her own and went to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil and got tempted by the snake. That's where feminism started. It started with Satan, and God wants to restore our homes to a biblical thing because it brings about greater happiness. God knows what happiness is,
So Dr. Wiedemann, something else that we want to be able to look at this is that, first of all, a man's sex drive is so different than a woman. A woman can go without sex for months and even years. They don't miss it. A
Yep.
man has, as we said earlier, that drive is so strong, even the most godliest man will fall into adultery if his wife is not willing to fulfill his marital duties. And Paul made that very clear in Romans chapter, 1 Corinthians chapter 7. He said, do not deprive each other of these marital responsibilities. Otherwise, Satan may come in and tempt you. And so if you're in a healthy relationship, it doesn't matter if you're a man or woman of faith or not, but if you truly are committed to your relationship, you want to make sure that your spouse is not tempted to fall into the arms of another person because your lack of responsibility. And it doesn't matter if you're a Christian or not. That holds still true for non-believers, people who don't go to church. If you are committed to your marriage, when I say commit to your marriage, okay, and I know marriages who are we call monogamous, I guess. Basically, the wife is okay if the husband goes out and has multiple affairs, but she has his checkbook. She's got all the things she wants, but she has no desire to fulfill the marital duties in that part. Well, okay, if that's your choice, but that's not how marriage was intended to be. Now, there's only one. What's interesting is this: if you look at creation, man and a woman are God created them to not only reproduce but also have intimacy through intercourse. Did you know there's only one species of animals that are also fall in that category? Yes, there's one species of animals falls in that category, and that is the sea lion. Sea lions not only reproduce through sexual intercourse, but they also mate with each other and for sexual pleasure. Now, I did not know this, but when I was in the Navy, we had guys work with sea lions for harbor defense. Basically, they're training sea lions to defend against combat swimmers and things like that. And they always told us, "Oh, that was the worst thing you can do is work with a male seal." A male seal was so sexually active that it was sometimes difficult to train him. That's why they like to use female seals to work with, because they're easy to work with. And I was thinking, wow, that's interesting. But there's only one species of animals in the animal kingdom that has the same intimacy for pleasure, and that's the sea lion. Most people don't.
That's interesting. How about Navy SEALs?
Well, you don't want to go down that path. I can tell you one thing right now is that Navy SEALs have a lot of testosterone, so they need to get rid of that testosterone pretty damn quickly. If they don't have blowing things up, they're having a good old time partying, right? So my point is this: is that it's one of the things that you'll find out is this: a man who is physically active has a higher sex drive.
That's right.
There's athletes, whatever. Now, if you're on steroids, that's a total different story. If you're on steroids, you're going to suppress your sex life or sexual desires, and that is in exchange for muscle mass. Well, that's not the correct way to build muscle mass. If you truly want to build natural muscle mass, there's actually a guy that used longevity products, specifically all natural, and Gene Nelson. And he lives in Utah. I personally know him. He's an African American, and even in his 40s, he is Mr. Muscle Man. I forget all the titles he's won, but he has had tremendous success with longevity products in building his natural muscle tone and competing. While Dr. Wiedemann, while you're talking, I'm going to pull up some of his testimonials. It's just phenomenal. Gene Nelson.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Some of the things he was sharing. Okay.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to mention is that the female counterpart to the prostate gland is the uterus, and maybe we should devote some time about a healthy uterus on here tonight, because there are some longevity products that help, and also exercise is important with women as well in terms of proper hormonal balance. And so I guess if we really wanted to talk about this. There are some bullet points that we can point to in terms of healthy sexual organs. Because you want to be healthy on both sides of the coin, not just one. And if a woman does not have proper sex drive, she needs to attend to her health, because that's not healthy either. D.D. Palmer said that all disease is either too much or too little function. And if a woman is not sexually functioning in her part of the marriage, then her health is impaired as well, and she needs to take care of that health. There has to be a balanced chemistry between husband and wife, and that involves mental, physical, and spiritual health, because the sex drive and the sex interaction is very much a spiritual thing as well.
And so something else, Dr. Wiedemann, is that if the pharmaceutical industry loves to prey on people's inadequacy, so they come up with Cialis and Viagra and all kinds of stuff. And if that doesn't work, guess what happens? You got to go down to the adult toy store, and you've got to get these toys to sexually satisfy your partner. And that's not what God intended. Okay.
No.
And I can tell you right now, I have men who are in their 80s that were not able to have a successful, healthy intercourse with their wives. We got them on longevity products, and I'm not kidding you. They told me, I don't know, whatever it is, but it is working. It is working. And so, if you a man or woman of faith, Abraham was fathering children in his older than 100 years old. And we have the genetic potential to do that. Just remember this: Dr. Wallach's 90 for Life maximizes our genetic potential. And why not? I am in my mid-60s. I can tell you right now, everything is still working. Everything's still working. And it's both my wife and I, both of us had our children in our 40s. But
you're both maintaining your, each of you is maintaining your health in that department, through chiropractic care and proper nutrition as well, and proper exercise. Exercise, proper nutrition, and being in proper alignment with no interference. Those three things happen. Yeah.
I want to share something with you. This past weekend, we had some friends of ours who had just purchased a home here in Utah. And so before they actually moved into the house, we had a massive rainstorm here. It rained like 4 inches in a half a day. Well, Utah's not used to that much rain. So the backyard was next to a irrigation canal. Well, this irrigation canal filled up and flooded out the basement, a foot and a half of water. Well, we went over there, helped them dewater and then pull out some of the drywall, whatever. But they had a hot tub underneath the patio. And next to the hot tub was a spiraling staircase, one of those spiraling staircases, metal staircase that goes down from the upper deck to the lower deck. And I was in a knee-deep water, and I was wearing a ball cap, so I wasn't aware of what's above my eye here. That was my mistake here. I turned around. I was holding two sump pumps in my hand. Turned around, and I lunged to get up kind of the steep bank, not knowing that there's a corner of that staircase. I hit it right in my forehead, and I heard my neck crack. And so I was like, oh, man. And I knew I had severely misaligned stabilization of my spinal cord. I went down to not Dr. Wiedemann, but I went down to Dr. Dawson here in Draper, Utah. He is my NUCA doctor. And Dr. Wiedemann, I was off 28 pounds. The most I've ever been off ever was 18 pounds. Now, what I've noticed that if I'm off about 10 pounds or more, when I sit on the toilet, I have a difficult time eliminating number one and number two.
Right.
And after I got adjusted, it's amazing. I had to go, number one, really, all of a sudden, my bladder was working. And so my point is that even though I have degenerative disc disease, and because of my history of pure oxygen diving, the long-term side effects is accelerated of degenerative disc disease. So I have to be really specific about maintaining a healthy musculoskeletal system. So I have very little, very little room for error when it comes to my skeletal system. If I have any kind of interference, it really helps me. I notice that when I'm out, my blood pressure rises, number one. Number two is I have a hard time sitting on the toilet and emptying my bladder. I have to literally actually stand up in order to relax, empty my bladder.
And that would be a combination of two things. The position of the pelvis changes when you're out because we've talked about this before. If you can imagine a yard swing like this, and you have the chains on each side. If one is shorter than the other, it shifts the base of support of the spine, because the erector spiny group on the backside and the psoas muscles on the front will actually twist the pelvis. And I've seen this over and over and over, and it will twist it in a there's many different ways it can distort the pelvis. We can measure that on the anatometer.
And when you talk about twisting the pelvis, my pelvis, what happens is that it shifts like that.
Yeah.
So actually shifts like this. So basically my left leg is shorter than the right leg.
Right.
And it's up to 3/4 inch shorter. When I get adjusted, properly balanced, get on that scale, both legs have equal distribution of weight. When I say I was 28 pounds off, we use the scale method, one leg on the right leg on a scale and the left leg on a scale. And the difference between the two should be less than 0.1 pound. That's a 1/10 of a pound. I was off 28 pounds imbalance.
Right.
And so my point is this, and they checked my legs. My left leg was shorter by 3/4 of an inch.
Wow.
And so when it was just a matter of, it doesn't take long to make this adjustment. We have to know exactly what you're doing. Once we got done, my legs were even. I was down to 0.2. 0.2 is getting right in the ballpark there. And so the other thing is, I didn't have a headache anymore. In other words, that I could feel my heart pounding in my neck area. And that's what drove my blood pressure up.
Well, Marvin, one of the things, when you say short leg, actually the way the hip is designed is that, let's say that the tip of my fingers is where the ball is. If you were to draw a line up the neck of the whole ball and its base, this would be the greater and lesser trochanters of the femur. You can actually see on X-ray, and I've taken pelvic X-rays before and after, and there's like a triangle here, and that triangle, the legs can splay apart. One will splay like this, and the other one won't, and so it makes it appear as if it's shorter, but it's really not. It's because of the pelvic distortion, you see, and that pelvic distortion literally affects the prostate gland. It also affects the uterus of a ladies, the ladies. The uterus is tied into your posture and I'm certain that the prostate has some postural effects, but, just not as much as the uterus will. But the thing of it is that if we maintain the health of our bodies in a proper manner, I believe that we can, number one, live without medication, and number one, live without surgery. The surgery is the last thing you want to have to do, and that it tends to mess everything up.
So, Dr. Wiedemann, we've got a testimony. We got two videos I'd like to show real quickly here. One on ED. So let me bring that up real quick here, and watch this little short video on a testimony.
Okay.
And here we go. Actually, first of all, let's watch Gene Nelson. He's a bodybuilder. Then we'll watch the one on ED. So here's Gene Nelson, and it's a really incredible testimony. Gene is.
Hi, I'm Gene Nelson, professional bodybuilder. I've won multiple titles. I'm 49 years of age, and now I'm able to outdo the teenagers. As a professional bodybuilder, arthritis has limited me being able to compete. with Dr. Wallach's recommended arthritis program, I've been able to compete, which has helped me tremendously, being very successful, winning multiple titles.
So as you can see here, Gene, just a short little quick video of him sharing his testimony about the success. He's 49 years old. This video was taken back in 15 years ago, and he's still, I know he was, as recently as 5 years ago, he's still competing in his 50s. And so here's one on ED. I want to just really quickly get, here we go. Dr. Wiedemann, can you hear that video? Was it?
Oh yeah, I could hear it. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to make sure you guys can hear it.
All right, let's get that one. Let's put that one back
My
up.
name is Richard Jones, and I'm from Homer, Indiana. I'm 77 years old today. I've been using longevity products for about 90 days now, and I really didn't expect to see any results this rapidly. But the first thing I noticed was my munchies went away. Quit making the trips to the refrigerator in between meals. But the biggest thing is when I turned 70, I started having erectile dysfunction problems. And by the time I was 75, it was full-blown erectile dysfunction. And I had really just about decided that I was too old for sex anymore. I still had the thoughts and I still had the desire sometime, but I really didn't have the ability to carry through with it. After about 2 months, I started taking the basic 90 for body weight. I noticed that I was starting to have a little activity first thing in the morning that I had thought was gone forever, because I wasn't really interested in going through the hormone replacement therapy stuff that the doctor was talking about. And then it got to be pretty much every morning I had the morning woody, and my sex life is back again. And it's something I really didn't expect. It wasn't the reason why I was taking it.
Well, and I have other recorded videos of men's testimonies, which is not up on the website at this point in time, but they're all the same story. All the same story. And
Yeah,
so
just getting on the 90 essentials makes a huge difference, you know.
yeah. And so, ladies, if you have your loved one is suffering from ED, and I can promise you there's nothing more important than helping your man experience that kind of intimacy in their later senior years, because that's something that, you know, makes, all I can say is that if you really want to earn the respect of your husband, and he wants to, and there's nothing greater satisfaction than your husband's ability to see you enjoy him as you enjoy each other in that moment of intimacy. And so that's how God's plan is. I'm a man of faith, and so I talk to anybody that has ED. ED has no political boundaries. Trust me. I don't care if you are what faith you are from, or if you're an agnostic or an atheist. ED will reach every man in this if they're not taking care of themselves with a good nutritional protocol. Just remember this: if you have ED, you have lost your maximum genetic potential. That's how simple it is. And so these minerals we talk about Doc's minerals. Those minerals are a phenomenal recipe to help support and promote a healthy sex life. That's just the beginning of it. But then we have additional products to support and promote the prostate, support and promote the reproductive system. And so we have even scratched the surface of talking about the reproductive system, especially when it comes to childless couples. We address everything that can go wrong with a man's reproductive capability and a woman's reproductive capability. But when it comes to ED, that's just part of that reproductive system.
Yeah, and also, Marvin, there's some things about PMS that we ought to discuss. And I think I remember Dr. Wallach talking about the fact that PMS is a lack of calcium on a woman's part, simply because. And he said that when he said that on the radio, he had women lining up in the health food store trying to get calcium, for themselves. Or husbands were lining up getting calcium for their wives, because of PMS, But there's something else called Women's FX. You want to talk about that a little bit, Marvin?
Yeah. So when we talk about female issues, reproductive issues, we're not talking about the monthly. If you have irregular monthly cycle, it's because of hormone imbalance. That's really how simple it is. If your monthly cycle is 1 or 2 days early, 1 or 2 days late, that means you have a hormone imbalance. Okay. So we have what they call the Women's FX. The Women's FX is actually an old, it's an herbal remedy. It's what it is. And it was used back many years ago. In the Indians, the medicine man would put together a herbal combination for the ladies, the Indian ladies. And it's still used today. But Dr. Wallach, he basically brought it on board, and we called it the Women's FX. And
yeah,
so
it was originally Lydia Pinkham's remedy, right?
It was if you remember back grandma and grandpa's days, they may have had access to a herbal formula called the Lydia Pinkham's formula. You can't buy it anymore. Well, that's the reason why Dr. Wallach brought it in. And so that's basically an excellent product just for all around female health, especially if you have young daughters coming into their monthly cycles. They have a lot of cramping problems, a lot of heavy bleeding. And that Women's FX is just phenomenal. Matter of fact, my daughter, she's 19 years old, and she's never had any issues in that category. She comes home all the time and says, my friend this, my friend that, can't come to school because she's got that monthly problem. And a lot of times these young ladies are out of school for a couple of days because they just can't get out of bed because the cramping is so bad. And anytime you have cramps, PMS cramping, that's because you lack of calcium. That's all it is. That's another reason why women need more calcium than men, because her monthly cycles requires more calcium. And so what we do is we teach these young ladies to do the basic 90 nutrients. And then when they start just before they start, maybe 3-4 days before they're supposed to start their monthly cycle, increase their calcium levels. And if they are during the monthly cycle, if they start cramping up, just take an ounce of calcium. Beyond
it really needs to be the right kind of calcium. So longevity makes sure that you take longevity stuff, because the other stuff out there is like taking chalk, the calcium carbonate.
So when you buy calcium, always make sure you read the label. And the label says calcium, but in parentheses, most of them say calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate is nothing more than ground up limestone. It's the same thing as white chalk from that you use to write on a chalkboard. Okay, Tums is calcium carbonate. Tums coats the stomach lining to prevent it's an antacid. Well, that's the incorrect form of calcium. That's only 8 to 10% bioavailable. The calcium we're talking about comes from bone marrow. Bone marrow-based calcium is tricalcium phosphate, and the calcium citrate is plant-based calcium. Those are the two most bioavailable forms of calcium on the market. The next,
and calcium citrate also.
Calcium citrate. Then the third most bioavailable form of calcium on the market is calcium hydroxyapatite, which is your bone meal. Okay, and so it is listed in your supplements as calcium hydroxyapatite. Do not buy any products, and even the breads and cereals nowadays, they have calcium enriched. You'll see it is nothing more than ground up limestone, though that's not the correct mineral in order to utilize to support and promote healthy musculoskeletal system. It's absolutely not. You'd be much better off going out and buying a bunch of bones from the butcher and making bone soup. That's much better than eating this cheap calcium.
Marvin, I have a friend I've talked about longevity several times. He says, well, I drink about 1.5 gallons of milk every, I don't know how often he drinks it, but he said, I drink a lot of milk. Am I getting my calcium? And I tell him no, because the casein in the milk causes you to eliminate the calcium through your urination there. So you'll just dump it right out of your body.
Yep.
So it's a calcium neutral drink. It will not enhance your calcium absorption at all.
Guys, I think most of the problem is, and you probably either agree or disagree, but the advertising agencies have been crazy over the years. They've been telling everybody to drink milk, do this,
Uh-huh.
do that, don't eat this, don't eat that. Everybody's confused. So what we're here to do is set everybody straight. We're trying to tell them this is what your body needs, this is what you need to take, and how you get it. Right?
Right. Yeah. Yep. And really what it boils down to is we don't really want to overemphasize any specific nutrient because you need all 90. You have to have all 90 as a base in order to be healthy. And you just get on the 90 essentials, the mighty 90, and it'll make a world of difference in your life. We like to talk about getting people on these protocols, but you know what? A lot of times in the beginning, people can't afford all the other stuff. They can always afford the 90 essentials. We can keep that within your budget. So if, yeah, that's right. Yeah. It will not give you a net calcium uptake. That's true. Yeah.
So, Dr. Wiedemann, let's get back to ED. I think we want to kind of summarize what's going on here. So just remember this. ED is a symptom of a failed cardiovascular system, restricted blood flow. If you have ED, you have most likely poor circulation in your hands. You have poor circulation in your feet. If you have poor circulation in your hands and feet, you're headed towards a full-blown ED. I guarantee you will. Okay? And so what we want to do is, if we have ED problem or glaucoma, which is high blood pressure of the eyeballs, high blood pressure or kidney failure or reduced kidney function, we want the basic 90 nutrients and additional products to support and promote a healthy cardiovascular restoration system. And that's a kind of a mouthful of words there, but that's really how simple it is. That's how simple it is.
Yeah, that would. There's two products that we would do with that, and that would be CardioFX and
well, there's actually three products. You've got the CardioFX, you've got the ProstFX, and you've got the Zera Test. Zera Test is a hormone balancer for men. And so those are the three products in addition to the basic 90 nutrients that you want to add. Now, the other product that we want to do from what we call cardiovascular restoration is Ultimate Classic Daily Tablets. Ultimate Classic Daily Tablets is what cleans out that plaque buildup in our cardiovascular system. Okay. And I can tell you right now, when you look at Dr. Wiedemann's face right now, it has color in it. When I first met Dr. Wiedemann's face, the color of his skin was like the color of his hair, white as a sheet. Okay. Remember that, Dr. Wiedemann?
I do.
You almost passed out climbing up the stairs in the Davenport, Iowa Fire Department second floor conference room. I followed you upstairs and you were huffing and puffing. You remember that?
Yeah.
And I sat down with you afterwards and look, you are headed for major cardiovascular failure. And you didn't quite make that connection, but you did when you got on top of the mountain in Montana.
And tried skiing,
You collapsed and you could not get up because of lack of oxygen in your blood.
Yeah. And the thing with this, Marvin, I know how to ski, but I just didn't. And of course, it's been years since I worked out. From the year about 1999 to about 2003, I was working out regularly and pretty buff at the time. And I was able to handle the skiing at that time. But it's, my dad got sick and I stopped working out and haven't had the chance to do so since, just circumstances. But, if you're going to ski, you have to be cardiovascularly fit and you have to be physically fit as well. And I wasn't, that was the two mistakes I made. I should have stayed on the bunny hill and I didn't. And, if you haven't skied for a number of years, don't go out and try to go to the top of the mountain like I did, anyway, anyway, the important thing here is, we stress physical fitness. That means, like with Gene Nelson, you need to take the nutrients in order to have those things. And, of course, we want to, make a comment about Dr. Wallach's lecture, Dead Athletes Don't Lie, because a lot of these athletes that are are doing a lot of exercise are sweating out their minerals, and they die around in their 50s. You know, so it's really important that the people stay physically fit and have a proper nutritional balance, and also stay away from the bad foods and eat the good foods. You know, the bad foods are part of the piece of the puzzle here. It's not all what you take, it's what you stay away from as well, because these oils can literally destroy your blood vessels. You know, they get in there and wreak havoc, and then your body tries to patch it up with cholesterol. So, and if you're not taking the proper essential fatty acids, you can be you can be subject. Here's another thing, Marvin, that we want to emphasize, and that's the importance of having essential fatty acids flowing through our bloodstream as well, because that makes a difference in our blood vessel health as well. You know, there's a lipid layer in all of the cells, and it requires essential fatty acids for those cells, and that includes in your and what'll happen in your bloodstream when they like to give you these blood thinners, they are actually causing a change in the healthy part of their blood into an unhealthy state when they put blood thinners in.
Mm-hmm.
What you need to do instead, in my opinion, is to put the essential fatty acids in there, because essential fatty acids will cause the blood to become, in a healthy manner, thinner, without causing excessive bleeding and things like this, and it will keep you from over clotting. Your body producing blood clots. A lot of that's because of the fact that the essential fatty acids are missing. Your blood vessel, your blood cells can actually, clunk together, and also, drinking enough water. You need to have a balance of water in your system as well. Your electrolytes have to be in proper balance as well. So.
So, Dr. Wiedemann, something else that we talk about essential fatty acids, and I'm just going to touch on this real briefly here because it's really critical. A lot of people on we talk about blood thinners, and so when you have symptoms of cardiovascular disease, they want to put you on blood thinners. They think it's going to prevent heart attacks. Okay, well, that is true. It will, but you're chemically causing those the blood from clotting. And so a lot of doctors would like to use aspirin. That's typically the first over-the-counter aspirin. Aspirin will prevent your blood from clotting. If you are on aspirin and you are in an automobile accident, you can easily bleed to death because there's no clotting factor that's available for you. Matter of fact, I personally know nurses who have been in the past on the heart transplant team. And the heart transplant doctors make absolutely, or heart surgeons, whatever heart surgery you do, does transplant or bypass surgery or whatever.
Yeah, bypass surgery. Mm-hmm.
They want you to be off of aspirin for at least a minimum of 10 days, if not longer.
Yeah.
But the regular doctors do not work with the cardiologist. And a lot of times they can do 2 heart surgeries a day. A heart surgeon can do 2 surgeries a day if the patient is not on aspirin. If they are on aspirin, they're going to do 1 surgery a day. That's thousands and thousands of dollars of lost potential profit for that hospital. Well, now we have even a better solution. Essential fatty acids causes healthy red blood cells. And the measurement of what you want to do is ask your doctor, I want to know what my pro-time is. Pro-time is a clotting factor. The low range is 0.8. The high range is 1.5. Anything below 0.8 is risk of heart attack, you could say. But if the doctors suspect that you are high risk of heart attack, they want your pro-time to be above 2.0. They can only get that with chemicals. They cannot get that with natural stuff. So if your pro-time is between that 0.8 and 1.5, you don't need blood thinners. You don't need aspirin, according to what Dr. Wallach teaches. And give you an example, I had one of my clients in Southern California was complaining of chest pains. Now, chest pains is never a symptom of a heart attack. It's always a symptom of a back problem. Always, according to Dr. Wallach. So
Mhm.
he was kind of freaking out. I was not able. I was out in the wilderness elk hunting, so I wasn't able to take his phone call. So he went and checked into the emergency room hospital. EKGs came back normal. Everything came back normal, but he still had the chest pains. And so the doctors want
Was
to put,
this recently?
yeah, just this past weekend.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so the doctors want to put him on blood thinners because he had chest pains. And of course, he knew enough from Dr. Wallach's teachings that it's not a chemical problem. It's not a, so why would you put me on a blood thinners if my EKGs and my echocardiograms are coming back normal?
Yeah, it's a T1, T2 area, T1, T2, T3 area. It's an interaction between those three segments. He's probably got, and I don't know if he has any he's out of adjustment, I know. So, so he needs to be in balance. So anyway, I mean, that's an interesting.
I see this all the time. Chest pains is not, yes, when you're having a heart attack, your heart hurts, but just chest pains in itself, almost all the time, comes from a thoracic vertebra, a impinged nerve from the thoracic vertebra. And you can always ask the people between your shoulder blades, is your back tight between your shoulder blades and your upper middle back? And they always say, yes, it is. I've always had problems there. And so
Marvin, I'll tell you something else. It can also be a rib, and it can also be a clavicle that's misaligned.
Yep.
In that area, because that's like in the same area. I have seen many clavicle misalignments that can affect you as much as your atlas being out. So
have we covered all the issues regarding ED? Do we think everybody understands out there been listening how to deal with ED? Or do we need to come back and discuss this again?
Well, you were talking about the three things that you need: just cardio FX, you said pro FX, and what was the other one? I'm writing them down.
Xerafem. So here I'll post it up there.
no, Xeratest. You're combining two products there.
Xeratest.
And Ultimate Classic Daily.
Ultimate Classic Daily. And then ProstFX.
Are there any are there any essential oils and how about good herbs that could go along with that? Because I believe that you could take the make a turbo cream for the prostate.
So the issue with that is it's going to be it's too that skin area down there, the genital area is too sensitive for the turbo creams. And
well, it depends on what you would do with it. I mean, I'm talking. I mean, there are the good herbs has a male hormonal support, and I don't know if there's any essential oils that you could put in there or not.
Yeah. So, but as I said, anytime anybody has inflamed prostate, the ProstFX does wonders. Matter of fact, I've seen men who were scheduled for prostate surgery, and within 2 weeks' time, on the basic 90 nutrients and the ProstFX, they were able to cancel the prostate surgery. Now, prostate cancer is another whole different ballgame. Now, if you have prostate issues, that could lead to prostate cancer, and we can talk about that another time. Prostate cancer and your PSA. PSA is a symptom, does not mean you've got prostate cancer. And we have a whole bunch of testimonies of men who have been diagnosed with prostate cancer, and it is a prolonged disease management for medical doctors. They love men with prostate cancer because they can bring in thousands and thousands of dollars of what they call disease management if somebody has been diagnosed with prostate cancer.
Well, Marvin, wouldn't the equivalent of ED in a man be uterine issues in a woman? You know, and the thing with it is that I always try to think on both sides of the coin, because if one, you know, you can have a disease process on one side, you can have a disease process on the other. You know,
So one of the things that I would say is vaginal dryness. A lot of ladies suffer from vaginal dryness, and intercourse is very painful. So they will use a lubricant instead, but you shouldn't have to use a lubricant. If you have to use a lubricant for intercourse, that means that your reproductive system is not working that way it should.
yeah,
And so vaginal dryness is a very common problem for women, and that's just part of that reproductive system is not as healthy. Matter of fact, Suzanne Summers, when she came on board with longevity, that's one thing she said. When I was in Las Vegas back in 2012 at the longevity convention, she said one of the things I noticed right away is that I never had a problem with that after I took longevity products, and then recommended protocol for female health issues, is that problem went away very quickly. And, you know, it was amazing after she got off stage and we kind of took a break, all these women were just hanging around her. I mean, they were just like, everybody wanted to know, okay, is it, you know, not only did they want to obviously get to know Suzanne Summers, but they really wanted to get more information about, you know, what the success she's had with Dr. Wallach's protocol. And so it goes both ways. It goes both ways.
well, there's something called endometriosis in a woman that can, you know, that's basically inflammation of the lining of the uterus. You know,
Well,
endometriosis
yeah.
basically it's the lining of the uterus is inflamed and swollen, and it's the same type of thing.
But remember this: if you have inflammation in your body, it's a lack of essential fatty acids. So endometriosis is nothing more than the body the female hormone progesterone is not enough there to eliminate the estrogens in the reproductive system. As a result, those estrogens take up housekeeping in the uterus, and that's what causes inflammation. Because the estrogen hormone, if you have overproduction of estrogen hormones over a period of time, you will succumb to ovarian cancer, uterine cancer, breast cancer, and all kinds of female problems. And so there's a whole section on that we had not even talked about.
Yeah. Do you have any testimonials on endometriosis or female problems?
Since we're over time now, we probably should pick that up another time, because we want to be able to go more in depth and detail about that, because we talked about ED, kind of how it relates to the back issue and the cardiovascular system. Because if you think about it, ED can cause two things: can cause the back issue, lower back issue, as well as your cardiovascular system. So those two kind of working hand in hand. Notice how the cardiovascular system and the musculoskeletal system, they kind of work together as a team.
Yeah, they do.
They do.
Yeah. Well, with that, I want to make sure that everybody knows the way to get in contact with me. If you could put those the HTTPS tinyurl.com Doc's Minerals up.
It's up there. It's up there, Doc. You can reach Doc at healthreform90@gmail.com or call or text him at 406-270-3754 or reach him at https://tinyurl.com/docsminerals. All right.
Yeah, and you can reach me that way. You can get into the website that way, and that's where you'll see the video and put your information in, and then I really encourage people to text me if they need my help. So and with that, and I'll even do a three-way with Marvin if necessary. If they need to really have some in-depth advice, but our health questionnaire on the website really is helpful. So
excellent. Yep, you bet.
Thank you very much, everybody. And I just want to recap tonight the importance of exercise, nutrition, and stay away from the bad foods in order to maintain healthy prostate, and and just getting on the nutrients can make a difference in your ED situation.
Good stuff, guys. Thank you. Bye, everybody.